Hi everyone, it's me, Ian from the Postal Hub podcast,
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
and we have a viewer question for. I'm so used to talking about listeners. We have a viewer question for this episode. It's come from Stefan Rehm, who says, "How is cross-border e-commerce and delivery impacted now and in the coming years?" I assume by this dreaded virus. Stefan's asked the question there via Slido, so check below how to ask your own question via Slido or how to vote on other people's questions. So, cross-border e-commerce, what do you see as being some of the key outcomes of what we're going through at the moment, Marek?
Well, obviously, the short-term scenario is it's a nightmare
Yeah,
because with closed borders, it is very, very difficult to operate. I think, road borders are still working, certainly in Europe, but from what I understand, it's really tough when it comes to air. You remember we had this LinkedIn piece on Lithuanian Post and Polish Post having the trains now
yeah.
from China. So my takeout. Interesting to have yours on this, but my takeout is number one. I think modes may change. So things that were not used before, like trains, will become more important and are more important now. I think it will slow down cross-border e-commerce trade while it's speeding up domestic e-commerce trade. Um, but I think actually in the long run, it maybe will change the modes, but because of the huge extra e-commerce volume, I think the effect will be neutral plus. I don't know what your take on is.
Well, I had a long conversation with Kathy Morrow Robertson from Logistics Trends and Insights about this the other day. It's going to be out on the Postal Hub podcast, possibly by the time you are seeing this video. And the idea of modal shift came up in the conversation. Now, if we've got a capacity issue right now in the cargo holds in the aircraft are either full they're prioritized with other products, or there's just no capacity because there are no aircraft in the air. Where's that capacity going to go, and how fast will it be? I really am intrigued by this idea of how fast people expect their cross-border e-commerce, and I really do think that this is going to cross over with the environmental aspect of things. Okay, because this cross-border, if it's fast cross-border in an aeroplane, not very green. If it's
Yep.
slow cross-border on a train, it's a different sort of carbon proposition. So I know I'm sort of adding to Stefan's question here rather than answering it, but I'd like to ask, maybe just quickly throw it back to you, Marek. Do you think that this is going to sort of heighten people's environmental awareness of cross-border and therefore encourage more domestic e-commerce as a result? Or will the product still be coming out of China anyway and it doesn't make a lot of difference?
I think at the end of the day, the countries that are eco-friendly, like the Nordics, will be, and it will continue to be, and probably exactly as you say, more important. The ones that, regrettably, like my home country, Poland, we churn out coal-based smoke, so we're not very ecological. I think it's going to be price is key and customer experience in terms of delivery time.
Right.
Um, but you know what? I do believe that there will be a modal shift. I don't think in the long run the volumes will change. There is one other factor, because you're right to mention ecological issues. I think there's political issues. What will happen with populism post COVID? Because populism is about closing borders, about looking after number one. Now, if post COVID populism becomes stronger, then I think there will be less cross border commerce. If populism becomes weaker, then we'll have the opposite effect, I would suspect.
You've raised an interesting point there, and one that we didn't cover earlier, and that is the duties, VAT duties, and all of that. We've seen what's happened in Sweden, when the government there basically said, right, we're going to clamp down on all of these small purchases coming in from China, all countries, but let's be frank, it was really about the small purchases coming in via the post from China. It could easily be that more countries take this approach as well, especially if they see their own tax base reduce because there are people who are unemployed, there's less industry, things like that. Where are they going to raise the taxes from to pay for hospitals, to pay for all these facilities that we now need? Where's it going to come from? Well, it could be that we see a mass adoption of this idea of dropping the VAT or the consumption tax threshold to zero on imports, which means everybody has to pay on those cheap imports, even if you're buying, a €2 USB drive on Wish. That's just my quick
Yeah.
take.
But you know what? This is the concern, because it's like in the 30s. What actually happened? Everybody started getting into a protectionist sort of mindset, and it made things even worse. So, are we going to have the vicious circle? Because let's be honest, international trade is good for everyone in the long run. It should be balanced, of course, but maybe that's a subject for another whole debate.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Stefan, you asked a question and we've managed to not answer it. Or maybe we did. Maybe we've answered it with more questions. Everybody, get on LinkedIn or YouTube if you want. This is on YouTube for the 5 people who watch this on YouTube. Get online and share your comments below. What do you think? Does this mean that there'll be more domestic production, more domestic e-commerce? Will e-commerce be limited to road and rail transport? Will there be carbon considerations, or will there be more protectionism, or just protecting of tax revenues for individual governments? Oh, Marek, I've run out of steam. I don't know what else to say.
But look, I think we've covered it. If we have more questions, we can wrap it up. Maybe we're going to have a question from down under, because my pal David from Hub has come up with a question via mail. But I said, no, David, you've got to put it on Slido so people can vote it up. So let's see, we might get an Aussie question. But it's really good to see that we've got people from all over the world watching us, and
looking at these issues.
Looking forward to more good questions.
So comment below, share on via LinkedIn this video, share it with your friends and contacts, and we look forward to more of these interesting discussions in the future. Marek Rozycki from Last Mile Experts, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, everyone.